A father and his wheelchair-bound daughter enter their favorite restaurant, excited for lunch together. But the waitress takes one look at the wheelchair and says coldly, "We don't have space for her here." What happens next will restore your faith in humanity. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The golden afternoon sun painted warm stripes across the sidewalk as David pushed his daughter Emma's wheelchair toward their favorite restaurant, Mama Rosa's. It was their monthly tradition. Just the two of them sharing stories over pizza and laughing until their sides hurt. Emma's face lit up with excitement as they approached the familiar red door. "Daddy, can I get the cheese pizza with extra cheese today?" Emma asked, her 8-year-old voice bubbling with joy. Her dark curls bounced as she turned to look at him, her brown eyes sparkling. "Of course, princess," David smiled, his heart swelling with love for his brave little girl. "And maybe some garlic bread too?" "Yes." Emma clapped her hands together. Despite the challenges life had thrown at her, she had been born with spina bifida and used a wheelchair. Emma's spirit remained unbreakable. She found joy in the smallest moments, and David made sure to treasure every single one of them. As they entered the restaurant, the familiar smell of tomatoes, basil, and fresh bread welcomed them. Mama Rosa's had been their special place for 2 years now. The staff usually greeted them warmly, and Emma loved the cozy atmosphere with its checkered tablecloths and soft Italian music. But today felt different. A new waitress stood at the front desk, a tall, thin woman with sharp features and cold eyes. She looked up from her notepad and immediately noticed Emma in her bright pink wheelchair. Her expression changed instantly, her lip curling slightly as she took in the sight. "Good afternoon," David said cheerfully, not noticing the waitress's reaction at first. "Table for 2, please." The waitress looked from David to Emma, her eyes lingering on the wheelchair with obvious distaste. She pursed her lips and shook her head slowly. "We don't have space for her here," she said coldly, her voice cutting through the warm atmosphere like ice water. The words hit David like a physical blow. Emma's face, which had been glowing with excitement just moments before, crumpled with confusion. Her smile faded as she looked between her father and the waitress, not fully understanding what was happening but sensing something was terribly wrong. "Excuse me?" David's voice was quiet, controlled, but there was steel underneath. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. "The wheelchair," the waitress said with a dismissive wave of her hand. "It takes up too much room. Other customers need space too. Maybe you should try somewhere else." Emma's lower lip began to tremble. Tears welled up in her eyes as the cruel words sank in. She had been so excited about their special lunch, and now this stranger was telling them they weren't welcome. Her small hands gripped the armrests of her wheelchair as confusion turned to hurt. "Daddy?" she whispered, her voice small and broken. "Why doesn't she want me here?" David's chest tightened with a mixture of heartbreak and rage. How dare this woman make his beautiful, innocent daughter feel unwanted? How dare she judge Emma based on her disability rather than seeing the wonderful child she was? "There's nothing wrong with my daughter," David said, his voice growing firmer. "We've eaten here many times before. We're customers and we deserve to be treated with respect." "Well, I'm new here," the waitress replied with a shrug as if that explained everything. "And I'm telling you we don't have room for wheelchairs today. Find somewhere else." The restaurant had gone quiet. Other diners had stopped their conversations, sensing the tension in the air. Some pretended not to notice, focusing intently on their meals, while others watched the scene unfold with growing discomfort. Emma was crying now, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. She wiped her nose with the back of her small hand and looked up at her father with such sadness that it nearly broke his heart. "I want to go home, Daddy," she whispered. David knelt down beside her wheelchair and gently took her hands. "Emma, sweetheart, there's nothing wrong with you. This lady is being unkind, but that doesn't mean—" "Is there a problem here?" A deep voice interrupted. David looked up to see a large man with gray hair and kind eyes standing behind them. He was wearing a plaid shirt and jeans, and his weathered hands suggested he worked with them for a living. "No problem," the waitress said quickly, but her voice had lost some of its confidence. The man looked at Emma, who was still crying quietly, then at David's angry face and finally at the waitress. "Seems like there is a problem," he said calmly. "This little girl is crying and that's not right." "Sir, this is none of your business," the waitress snapped. "When someone hurts a child, it becomes everyone's business," the man replied. His voice was still calm, but there was no mistaking the firmness in it. From across the restaurant, an elderly woman with silver hair stood up from her table. She had been having lunch with her husband, but now she walked over with determination in her step. "What's happening here?" she asked, looking at Emma with concern. This waitress told us we couldn't eat here because of my daughter's wheelchair, David explained, his voice thick with emotion. The elderly woman's face grew stern. Excuse me? That's completely unacceptable. She turned to the waitress. Young lady, this restaurant serves everyone. No one should be turned away because of a disability. I was just trying to, the waitress began, but she was interrupted. You were being cruel to a child, said another voice. A woman in a business suit had approached, leaving her lunch meeting to join the growing group. That's not trying to do anything except hurt people. More people began to stand. A young couple with a baby stroller walked over. A group of teenagers left their pizza to see what was wrong. An older man with a cane made his way across the room slowly but determinedly. What's the problem? The young mother asked, holding her baby closer as she looked at Emma's tear-stained face. The waitress won't serve them because the little girl uses a wheelchair, the gray-haired man explained. The young mother's face flushed with anger. That's discrimination. That's illegal and wrong on every level. Completely wrong, agreed one of the teenagers, a girl with bright red hair. My brother has cerebral palsy, and if anyone talked to him like that, I'd lose it. The waitress looked around at the growing crowd of people, her confidence cracking. Look, I just started working here. I don't know all the rules. The rules are simple, said the elderly woman firmly. Treat everyone with kindness and respect. It's not that hard. Emma had stopped crying and was now looking around at all the people who had come to support her. She couldn't quite understand why all these strangers cared about her, but their kindness was beginning to heal the hurt the waitress had caused. David felt overwhelmed by the support from these complete strangers. He had been prepared to fight this battle alone, but now he had an army of people who believed his daughter deserved better. You know what? Said the man with the cane. I think we should all sit together. Show this little princess what real hospitality looks like. That's a wonderful idea, the elderly woman agreed. Waitress, we'd like to push some tables together. We're all going to eat lunch together. The teenagers nodded enthusiastically. Can we join too? We want to hang out with Emma. Emma looked up at her father with wonder. Daddy, why are all these people being so nice to us? Because that's what good people do, sweetheart, David said, his voice breaking with emotion. They stand up for what's right. The waitress looked around helplessly. The entire restaurant was now involved, and everyone was clearly on Emma and David's side. She realized she had made a terrible mistake. I'm sorry, she stammered. I didn't mean to. Yes, you did, said the businesswoman sternly. You absolutely meant to hurt this family. The question now is what you're going to do about it. Just then, a short, round woman with flour in her hair came bustling out of the kitchen. This was Mama Rosa herself, the restaurant's owner. She took one look at the crowd gathered around Emma and David and immediately understood something was very wrong. What's happening here? She asked in her thick Italian accent. Several people began talking at once, explaining what the waitress had said and done. Mama Rosa's face grew darker with each word. When they finished, she was trembling with anger. You told them they couldn't eat here? She asked the waitress, her voice dangerously quiet. I just thought, the waitress began. You didn't think at all. Mama Rosa exploded. This beautiful little girl and her papa, they come here all the time. They are family. How dare you treat my family this way? She knelt down in front of Emma's wheelchair, her anger melting into gentleness. Piccolina, I am so sorry this happened to you in my restaurant. This will never happen again, I promise you. Emma managed a small smile. It's okay, Mama Rosa. All these nice people made me feel better. Mama Rosa stood up and faced the waitress. You're fired. Get out of my restaurant right now. And don't ever come back. The waitress's face went pale. But I need this job. You should have thought about that before you decided to hurt a child, Mama Rosa said firmly. Go. Now. As the waitress gathered her things and left, the restaurant erupted in applause. Emma giggled as everyone clapped, finally understanding that all these people were celebrating her. Now, Mama Rosa announced, everyone who stood up for my Emma gets lunch on the house. We're going to have a party. The staff quickly pushed tables together, creating one long table that could accommodate everyone. Emma was placed at the head of the table like the guest of honor she had become. David sat beside her, still amazed by the kindness of strangers. As they waited for their food, people began introducing themselves to Emma. The gray-haired man was named Frank, and he told her funny stories about his grandchildren. The elderly woman was Margaret, and she showed Emma pictures of her garden. The teenagers shared their French fries and taught her a silly song. You know what, Emma? said the young mother, whose baby had fallen asleep in her arms. You're very brave. When someone is mean to you, it takes courage to keep smiling. My daddy says I'm the bravest person he knows, Emma replied proudly. Your daddy is right, Frank agreed. And you know what else? You brought all of us together today. Look around, all these different people all having lunch together because of you. Emma looked around the long table at all the faces smiling at her. Young and old, different colors and backgrounds, all united in their desire to show her kindness. The food began arriving, pizza and pasta and salad and garlic bread. Mama Rosa had outdone herself, preparing a feast fit for a celebration. As they ate, the conversations flowed easily. People shared stories about their families, their work, their dreams. The teenager with red hair, whose name was Jessica, sat next to Emma and helped her cut her pizza. You know, Emma, my little brother Tommy would really like you. He's 9, just a year older than you, and he loves pizza too. Does he use a wheelchair like me? Emma asked. No, but he uses braces on his legs to help him walk. Some kids at school used to be mean to him, but he's learned to ignore them. He says the kids who are mean don't matter, only the nice ones do. Emma nodded solemnly. That's smart. Today I learned that there are way more nice people than mean people. That's exactly right, said Margaret, the elderly woman. Most people in the world are good. Sometimes we just need to give them a chance to show it. As they ate and talked, something magical happened. The awkwardness of the earlier confrontation faded away, replaced by genuine friendship and connection. People exchanged phone numbers and made plans to meet again. Frank invited David and Emma to his grandson's birthday party. Margaret asked if Emma would like to help her plant flowers in her garden. The teenagers decided to start a club at their school to raise awareness about disabilities and inclusion. The businesswoman offered to help David with some legal advice about his rights as a parent of a child with disabilities. This is the best lunch ever, Emma announced, tomato sauce smeared on her chin and a huge smile on her face. It really is, David agreed, looking around at all the new friends they had made. He had come to the restaurant feeling angry and hurt, but now his heart was full of gratitude for these wonderful people who had shown his daughter such love. Mama Rosa appeared at Emma's elbow with a special dessert, a small cake with "Welcome Home, Emma" written in pink frosting. For my special girl, she said with a kiss on Emma's forehead. As Emma blew out the single candle on her cake, everyone cheered. She closed her eyes and made a wish, then opened them with a grin. What did you wish for? David asked. I wish that every kid who uses a wheelchair could have a lunch like this one, Emma said seriously. With lots and lots of friends. There wasn't a dry eye at the table. The simple wisdom of a child had captured exactly what the day had meant. It wasn't just about standing up to cruelty, but about creating community and belonging. As the afternoon wound down, people began to say their goodbyes. But these weren't the polite farewells of strangers. They were the warm goodbyes of new friends who planned to stay in touch. Frank shook David's hand firmly. You've raised an amazing daughter. Don't ever let anyone tell you different. Thank you for what you did today, David replied. You didn't have to get involved, but you did anyway. That means everything. Margaret hugged Emma gently. You remember what we talked about today, sweetheart? You are perfect exactly as you are. I will, Emma promised. And I'll remember all of you forever. As they prepared to leave, Mama Rosa pulled David aside. That waitress, she was wrong about everything. But especially about there not being room for Emma here. There will always be room for Emma in my restaurant and in my heart. David felt tears prick his eyes. Thank you, Rosa. For everything. No, thank you, she replied. Today reminded me why I opened this restaurant. It's not just about the food, it's about bringing people together, creating a place where everyone belongs. As David pushed Emma's wheelchair out into the afternoon sunlight, both of them were quiet for a moment, processing everything that had happened. Daddy? Emma said finally. Yes, sweetheart. I'm glad that mean waitress was there today. David was surprised. Why? Because if she wasn't mean, we never would have met all those wonderful people. We never would have had that amazing lunch with all our new friends. David smiled, marveling at his daughter's ability to find the silver lining in any situation. You're absolutely right, Princess. Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best experiences. And Daddy? Next time someone is mean to us, I'm not going to cry right away. I'm going to remember that there are more good people than bad people, and the good people will always win. That's my brave girl, David said, his heart swelling with pride. As they made their way home, David reflected on the day's events. They had gone to lunch expecting a quiet meal together, but instead they had experienced something extraordinary. They had seen the worst of humanity in that cruel waitress, but they had also seen the very best in all those strangers who chose to stand up and show kindness. Emma was already making plans for their next visit to Mama Rosa's, talking about which new friends might join them and what stories she wanted to share. Her excitement was infectious, and David found himself looking forward to it too. That evening, as David tucked Emma into bed, she looked up at him with serious eyes. "Daddy, do you think that waitress learned something today?" "I hope so, sweetheart. Sometimes people do mean things because they don't understand. Maybe seeing how many people disagreed with her will help her think differently." "I hope so too," Emma said. "Because being mean looks like it would make you very lonely." I felt sorry for her. David kissed his daughter's forehead, amazed once again by her capacity for compassion. Even after being hurt, Emma could still find room in her heart to feel sorry for the person who had hurt her. "Good night, my brave, kind, amazing daughter," he whispered. "Good night, Daddy. I love you." "I love you too." As David turned off the light and closed the door, he smiled. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and there would probably be more people like that waitress who would judge Emma based on her wheelchair rather than her character. But today had shown them both that for every person who chooses cruelty, there are many more who choose kindness. And that knowledge would carry them through whatever came next, together. The story of what happened at Mama Rosa's that day spread through the community. People talked about the little girl in the wheelchair and the strangers who became friends. Some who heard the story were inspired to examine their own prejudices and work to be more inclusive. Others simply smiled, glad to know that kindness still existed in the world. But for Emma and David, the most important thing wasn't the story that others told. It was the memory they would carry forever of the day when a restaurant full of strangers proved that love is stronger than hate, that community is more powerful than cruelty, and that there will always be room at the table for everyone.